When Marcin Patrzalek stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage, all eyes were on his fingers, but few knew the storm swirling inside his chest. Just weeks before his AGT debut, whispers surfaced among close circles and online followers that Marcin had gone through a quiet but painful breakup. The relationship, reportedly long distance and emotionally intense, had ended abruptly, right in the middle of one of the biggest opportunities of his life. Friends noticed the change. His usually upbeat energy turned more introspective, and his compositions began to carry a haunting weight, a kind of melancholy that wasn't just musical. It felt personal. But instead of retreating, Marcin channeled every drop of that emotional upheaval into his performance. His audition piece wasn't just technically flawless, it was explosive, aching, and alive. The audience rose. The judges leaned in. Simon Cowell himself was visibly stunned. No one could see the heartbreak, but they felt it in every beat. It was as if his guitar was crying for him, telling the story he didn't have words for. That night, he didn't just impress America. He proved that even when broken, true artists don't shatter. They create. And Marcin's silent heartbreak became the pulse behind one of the most unforgettable moments in AGT history. Behind the polished videos and thunderous applause, Marcin Patrzalek was quietly walking a tightrope few fans ever saw. After his viral breakthrough and America's Got Talent spotlight, industry insiders rushed in with promises of fame, tours, and lucrative deals. But with those offers came pressure to conform. Management teams urged him to abandon his instrumental roots and start singing. Others suggested watering down his complex arrangements for more radio-friendly covers. At one point, negotiations with his team reached a breaking point. There were even talks of letting him go entirely if he refused to adapt. For a young artist barely out of his teens, the choice was brutal. Follow industry formulas for guaranteed success, or risk it all by staying true to a style that no label could fully understand. Marcin chose defiance. He walked away from deals that demanded creative control, stood firm in his vision, and began building his brand from scratch, his way. He leaned deeper into YouTube, embraced Patreon, and turned down every shortcut that threatened his sound. In an era where artists often get molded like products, Marcin flipped the script. He wasn't willing to be manufactured, and that refusal nearly cost him everything. But in the long run, it may be the very thing that saved his artistry. As the world watched Marcin Patrzalek's meteoric rise online, few knew that behind the scenes, the viral sensation was navigating one of the lowest points of his personal life. In the months following his international buzz, Marcin relocated to Los Angeles to chase new opportunities. But the reality of that move was far from glamorous. With inconsistent income, no stable housing, and deals in limbo, Marcin found himself without a permanent place to stay. For a period, he quietly couch-surfed between friends' apartments, often sleeping on floors or spare sofas while still performing, creating, and uploading content like nothing was wrong. There were days he didn't know where he'd spend the night, yet he never missed a beat when it came to his craft. He kept uploading, practicing, and pushing forward, all while hiding the struggle from public view. In a city known for broken dreams, Marcin became a quiet warrior, proving that success isn't always accompanied by luxury. It's built in discomfort, fueled by hunger, and tested in silence. That chapter of homelessness wasn't just a personal hardship, it was a defining moment. Because even when he had nothing, Marcin still had his guitar. And for him, that was enough to keep going. While Marcin Patrzalek now enjoys global recognition and a fiercely loyal fan base, his journey didn't begin with a cheering section at home. In the early days of his musical obsession, his family, particularly his parents, were deeply skeptical. They viewed music as a hobby, not a career, and worried that his fixation on guitar was distracting him from a stable future. Coming from a modest background with no musical lineage, they hoped he'd pursue something more traditional: engineering, medicine, or law. When Marcin chose to lock himself in his room for hours each day, perfecting his slap techniques and experimenting with fusion styles, they saw it as rebellion, not dedication. Conversations reportedly turned into arguments, and at one point, There was serious tension over whether he'd even be allowed to continue down this uncertain path. But Marcin, ever quiet and focused, didn't argue. He proved. One performance after another, one viral clip at a time, he began to shift their perspective. Slowly, the skepticism turned into awe. The same family that once doubted his dream now proudly shares his achievements. It's a story that resonates with countless young creatives. Proof that belief doesn't always come first. Sometimes it's earned. And in Marcin's case, he earned it one note at a time. In an industry where most young artists dream of signing their first record deal, Marcin Patrzalek did the unthinkable. He said no. Not once, but multiple times. As his online presence exploded and major talent shows amplified his name, label executives lined up with promises of fame, distribution, and next-level opportunities. But buried in those contracts were clauses that demanded something Marcin wasn't willing to give: creative control. Several offers came with conditions: ditch the instrumentals, add vocals, simplify the arrangements, and conform to what sells. For Marcin, that was never part of the vision. He knew his music was complex, bold, and not always radio-friendly, but that's what made it his. So instead of chasing label validation, he doubled down on independence. He built a direct-to-fan model through YouTube, invested in his own audio-visual production, and launched a Patreon to support his work without compromise. It was a bold move that many warned against, but it paid off. By rejecting the glossy deals, Marcin retained full ownership of his sound and brand. And in doing so, he became more than an artist. He became a blueprint for a new generation of creators who value freedom over fame. While the world knows Marcin Patrzalek as the guitar virtuoso who broke the internet, what many don't realize is that behind the scenes, he's quietly preparing for a career pivot that could reshape his entire legacy. In recent years, Marcin has been studying orchestration, cinematic sound design, and advanced music theory, not for another viral video, but to enter the world of film scoring. Sources close to the artist reveal he's been immersing himself in the works of Hans Zimmer, Ramin Djawadi, and even Japanese anime composers, blending their storytelling techniques with his own percussive style. He's reportedly invested in film composition software, orchestral libraries, and has even begun collaborating with indie filmmakers on test projects, most of which remain unreleased. The goal? To become not just a guitarist, but a full-scale sonic storyteller capable of composing emotional, large-scale scores for cinema and television. Marcin once said in an interview, "Guitar is just the beginning." And now, it seems he meant it literally. His next act might not be on stage, but in the shadows of a movie theater, where his sound will shape entire worlds without a single word. The silent prodigy might soon become the voice behind stories far bigger than his own. In a world where viral fame rises and fades faster than a guitar riff, one name still echoes in silence: Marcin Patrzalek. Once celebrated as a guitar prodigy who shocked judges on America's Got Talent with his thunderous, genre-defying performance, Marcin didn't just leave the spotlight. He vanished from it entirely. No dramatic exit, no scandal, no farewell post, just a gradual silence that left millions of fans wondering, what really happened to the boy who could make Beethoven sound like metal and flamenco in one breath? The mystery surrounding his sudden retreat has only fueled more speculation. Was it burnout from overnight fame? Was there industry pressure behind the scenes? Or was it something more personal? Something he never wanted the public to see? At the height of his momentum, with viral videos and global buzz pushing his name into the mainstream, Marcin seemed poised to become a household icon. Yet, instead of chasing pop stardom, he took an unexpected turn, disappearing from TV, distancing himself from flashy press tours, and rarely engaging in high-profile collaborations. For fans who watched him ignite the AGT stage in 2019, the silence was deafening. Years have passed, and his digital footprint remains scattered. No major album drops, no tour announcements, no red carpets. And yet, his loyal community continues to search for answers, piecing together cryptic social media captions, analyzing old videos, and speculating about his next move. Could his absence be part of a master plan? Or was Marcin quietly battling the very system that once celebrated him? One thing is clear. His disappearance wasn't random. It was deliberate. And what lies beneath that silence might be more shocking than any performance he's ever delivered. Long before he was setting the AGT stage ablaze with percussive power chords and electrified classical riffs, Marcin Patrzalek was just a quiet kid from Kielce, Poland, barely 10 years old when he first picked up a classical guitar. But what followed was anything but ordinary. Within just a few years, this young talent wasn't just learning songs. He was redefining how the instrument could be played. At only 14, he stunned his home country by winning Poland's version of Must Be the Music, crafting his own mashups of flamenco, metal, classical, and electronic styles. His fingers moved like lightning, his rhythms punched like drums, and his arrangements defied all tradition. What people saw wasn't just talent, it was innovation, raw and unfiltered. Unlike many viral musicians who rely on flashy gimmicks or trendy covers, Marcin built his following through pure originality. He wasn't copying anyone. He was creating something entirely new. His performances blurred genres, sometimes mixing Beethoven's symphonies with dubstep beats, or slapping his guitar body like a cajon while ripping through Paganini's violin solos. The internet couldn't get enough. Clips of Marcin's performances racked up millions of views on Facebook and YouTube. Instagram guitar accounts flooded with shares. He became a global sensation practically overnight, without the help of a major label or marketing machine. And yet, even as the world began to recognize his genius, Marcin remained intensely private. He let his guitar speak. He rarely gave interviews. There were no loud claims, no attention-seeking stunts. Just focused artistry and increasingly complex compositions. Fans weren't just watching a musician rise. They were witnessing a revolution in guitar performance, led by a teenager who refused to play by the rules. But while Marcin's star kept rising online, what came next would put him on one of the biggest stages on Earth and reveal just how polarizing genius can be under bright lights. When Marcin Patrzalek stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage in 2019, the crowd didn't know what to expect, but they certainly didn't see this coming. In a single breathless performance, Marcin dismantled every stereotype about classical guitar. Instead of strumming chords or playing soft melodies, he unleashed an electrified arrangement of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony that sounded like an entire orchestra packed into one man. His hands struck, tapped, slapped, and plucked in a blur, part guitar, part percussion, part pure chaos, yet perfectly controlled. The judges sat frozen. Simon Cowell, not known for handing out compliments easily, simply stared, stunned. Howie Mandel called him a one-man band, while Julian Hough gushed over his originality. Within hours, his audition clip was flooding YouTube, Twitter, and Reddit threads worldwide. Marcin wasn't just a contestant. He had become the moment. But that wave of viral excitement would take a strange turn. Despite a strong showing in the judge cuts and a mesmerizing semi-final performance, where he performed his own original composition, Marcin was eliminated before reaching the finals. Fans were outraged. The comment section of AGT's YouTube channel exploded. He got robbed. Best talent of the season. This is why the show isn't about talent anymore. Theories swirled online. Some pointed to voting controversies. Others blamed production choices that favored more conventional acts. Marcin himself never lashed out. He posted a brief thank you to fans, then faded back into silence, leaving viewers confused. Why would a breakout act, who had all the viral momentum, millions of views, judges' praise, global buzz, suddenly vanish from the AGT machine? Some speculated he was disillusioned by the reality TV process. Others wondered if he had been pressured to change his artistic style for the show, and refused. Whatever the truth, his early exit became one of the season's most controversial moments. Marcin didn't lose on talent. He lost on something far more complicated, and that mystery only deepened as he retreated from mainstream appearances. After his shock elimination from America's Got Talent, Marcin Patrzalek didn't crash, he soared. At least on the surface. His social media numbers exploded. Brands began reaching out. His audition video crossed tens of millions of views. Music influencers, reaction channels, and even major publications took notice. He became a poster child for modern guitar innovation. But while the digital applause grew louder, something strange was happening behind the scenes. Marcin wasn't capitalizing on the momentum the way most AGT alumni do. There were no flashy tour announcements, no viral collaborations, no late-night show appearances. Instead, he seemed to pull away, posting sporadically, declining interviews, and keeping his fan base at arm's length. This wasn't the typical trajectory of a rising star. This was something different. Fans began to notice long gaps between uploads. His YouTube channel, once brimming with complex guitar arrangements, started slowing down. Rumors began surfacing across fan forums and Reddit. Was Marcin burned out? Was he facing pressure to commercialize his art? Had he clashed with labels behind closed doors? Some even wondered if the very system that had elevated him was now trying to control or repackage him. Marcin, known for his artistic purity and experimental edge, didn't seem like someone who'd bow to corporate templates. He wasn't interested in becoming just another Spotify-friendly guitarist with formulaic hooks and market-tested choruses. And that resistance may have come with consequences. Industry insiders quietly hinted that Marcin turned down multiple offers that didn't align with his creative vision. There were whispers of artistic disagreements, label rejections, and high-pressure meetings. But Marcin stayed silent, never confirming, never complaining. He simply kept creating, quietly, on his own terms. In an age where fame demands constant visibility, his decision to retreat felt almost rebellious. He wasn't fading, he was resisting. And that resistance came at a cost. Fewer public appearances, minimal press coverage, and growing questions about whether he was okay. Was he overwhelmed? Or simply walking a different path? One that didn't include the spotlight? For most rising stars, social media is a megaphone. Loud, curated, always broadcasting. But for Marcin Patrzalek, Instagram became something else entirely. A veil. While he retreated from the mainstream, fans clung to his posts, hoping to decode the silence. What they found was equal parts mesmerizing and mysterious. Marcin continued to share snippets of his guitar work, videos recorded in minimalist settings, often bathed in natural light, always masterfully played. But gone were the high-production visuals or flashy self-promotion. Each upload felt more like a window into his internal world than a bid for viral fame. He wasn't chasing algorithms. He was whispering to those still listening. But the more he posted, the more questions surfaced. Why no full albums? Why no Spotify drops? Why did every caption feel cryptic, short phrases like "it's not what it seems" or "rest is part of the sound"? Some fans saw beauty in the minimalism. Others sensed a deeper tension. Was he creatively trapped? Emotionally drained? Or simply operating